Good evening, America. You are about to listen to Remember the Fallen Show with me, Dave Matthews, where you'll be listening to my guests, jarheads, squids, wingnuts, ground pounders, and an occasional coastie. Maybe not. But most of all, I will be advocating to patriots that'll get a lump in their throat when they hear the national anthem being played at a ball game. You see, one of us can be run off, two of us can be disregarded, but it shows audience, together, we are a movement. After the survival instincts of an 8-ton rollover accident in the Parwan province of Afghanistan in 2004, I emerged and returned to the States with an even more enduring tale of perseverance. As I navigate the troubled waters of the VE system, I gain new perspective and a renaissance that I will share with you with the fever of enthusiasm to all patriots across the windswept fields of America. Hey, today's show is going to be something different. We're going to be doing the Medal of Honor recipient, an incredible, amazing speech I've never heard. We're going to dedicate this whole entire show to Medal of Honor recipient, former Army Staff Sergeant David G. Bellavia, is inducted into Pentagon's Hall of Heroes for conspicuous gallantry in November 2004 during Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. Get ready, tighten your seatbelts, because it is my duty to tell the story of our brave men and women who sacrificed so much for our fellow citizens, and that they will never know them.
The President of the United States of America, authorized by Act of Congress, March 3rd, 1863, has awarded, in the name of Congress, the Medal of Honor to Staff Sergeant David G. Bellavia, United States Army, for conspicuous gallantry and intrepidity at the risk of his life above and beyond the call of duty. Staff Sergeant David G. Bellavia distinguished himself by acts of gallantry and intrepidity above and beyond the call of duty on November 10, 2004, while serving as a squad leader in support of Operation Phantom Fury in Fallujah, Iraq. While clearing a house, a squad from Staff Sergeant Bellavia's platoon became trapped within a room by intense enemy fire coming from a fortified position under the stairs leading to the second floor. Recognizing the immediate severity of the situation, and with disregard for his own safety, Staff Sergeant Bellavia took up an automatic weapon and entered the doorway of the house to engage the insurgents. With enemy rounds impacting around him, Staff Sergeant Bellavia fired at the enemy position at a cyclic rate, providing covering fire that allowed the squad to break contact and exit the house. A Bradley fighting vehicle was brought forward to suppress the enemy. However, due to high walls surrounding the house, it could not fire directly at the enemy position. Staff Sergeant Bellavia then re-entered the house and again came under intense enemy fire. He observed an enemy insurgent preparing to fire a rocket-propelled grenade at his platoon. Recognizing the grave danger posed by the grenade to his fellow soldiers, Staff Sergeant Bellavia assaulted the enemy position, killing one insurgent and wounding another who ran to another part of the house. Staff Sergeant Bellavia, realizing he had an uncleared, darkened room to his back, moved to clear it. As he entered, an insurgent came down the stairs firing at him. Simultaneously, the previously wounded insurgent re-emerged and also engaged Staff Sergeant Bellavia. Staff Sergeant Bellavia, entering further into the darkened room, returned fire and eliminated both insurgents. Staff Sergeant Bellavia then received enemy fire from an insurgent emerging from a closet in the room. Exchanging gunfire, Staff Sergeant Bellavia pursued the enemy up the stairs and eliminated him. Now on the second floor, Staff Sergeant Bellavia moved to a door that opened onto the roof. At this point, a fifth insurgent leapt from the third floor roof onto the second floor roof. Staff Sergeant Bellavia engaged the insurgent through a window, wounding him in the back and legs and causing him to fall off the roof. Acting on instinct to save the members of his platoon from an imminent threat, Staff Sergeant Bellavia ultimately cleared an entire enemy-filled house, destroyed 4 insurgents, and badly wounded a 5th. Staff Sergeant Bellavia's bravery, complete disregard for his own safety, and unselfish and courageous actions are in keeping with the finest traditions of the military service and reflect great credit upon himself and the United States Army. At this time, the Medal of Honor flag will be presented. On 23 October 2002, Public Law 107-248, Section 8143, established the Medal of Honor flag to recognize service members who have distinguished themselves by gallantry in action above and beyond the call of duty. The Medal of Honor flag commemorates the sacrifice and bloodshed for our freedoms and gives emphasis to the Medal of Honor being the highest award for valor by an individual serving in the armed forces of the United States. The light blue color with gold fringe bearing 13 white stars are adapted from the Medal of Honor ribbon. Ladies and gentlemen, Staff Sergeant David G. Bellavia.
Good afternoon. The Honorable David Norquist performing the duties of Deputy Secretary of Defense. The Honorable Ryan McCarthy performing the duties of Secretary of the Army. Vice Chief of Staff of the Army, General James McConville. Sergeant Major of the Army, Daniel Daly. And my Congressman, the Honorable Chris Collins, U.S. Representative of New York, from New York. Ramrods of 2-2 Infantry. There we go. Family, my mother, my brothers, Dan, Rand, Tim, Deanna, my kids, Evan, Aiden, and Vivian. Thank you for your support. Your presence and my good fortune to be able to share this occasion with my men, my family, my friends, has eased the awkwardness that I'm feeling right now. What's more, I'm especially proud of the recognition that this award brings to my unit, my leaders, and my peers of the mighty Ramrods of 2-2 Infantry, 3rd Brigade, 1st Infantry Division. Combatants bear witness to all aspects of the human condition. It reveals the darkest parts of the human soul, while residing side by side with the most exalted characteristics, nobility, honor, valor, and God's grace. Why do American warriors under fire do what men have done since this nation's inception? This is a common thread that connects the militias of Lexington and Concord with the warriors of Fallujah. It is our love of nation, our way of life, and our love by those who we serve with side by side. We defend, we avenge, we sacrifice, we bleed, and we are willing to die for this unique creation, the United States of America. I am complete for having experienced that kind of sacrifice with my fellow men at arms, and those who died, they gave their lives for me. They gave their lives for you, and countless citizens who will never know them. I'm talking about Sims, Falkenberg, Iwan, Gonzalez, Vandenberg, Madison, Gariantis, Schreck, Sizemore, Mock, Rosales, Cardenas, Sprayberry, and Pruitt. Those were our countrymen. Those are our friends. And these men will never get the chance to experience the cycle of life, the birth and growth of their children. They shall not grow old because they chose to stand in our place and face the enemy for us. It's not enough to acknowledge the fallen by name or just inscribe their names in marble as proof that they lived and died. To truly honor the fallen, we must acknowledge how and why they gave their lives. Their death wasn't a random act or a splash of misfortune. These men and women voluntarily put themselves in harm's way, prepared to die so that we may rest insurance policy that guarantees that our founding documents, our God-given rights, are more worthy than their own tomorrows. When the news that Falkenberg, Sims, Madison, and Iwan had fallen, the reaction, the shock, the disbelief, the grief, it was transformed into resolve and rage to complete the mission assigned to us and give us even greater tenacity under fire. Their sacrifice gave us clear focus to fight using a reserve that we never knew we had. We broke the will of our adversaries, the enemy was defeated, and because of that, we came home. For the infantrymen in combat, there is nobility and purpose in our lives, and that is unique. But we don't see ourselves as a people apart. We are America's warrior class. We are citizens of the United States and treasure this land more than any overseas posting. The Army provided me with purpose and appreciation for the blessing America has bestowed upon us all. I'm forever grateful to the United States Army for making me able to count and cherish those blessings in a way that is unique to most and to those who wear the uniform. I think my Army has made us all better men, fathers, employees, husbands, and citizens. The controversy that swirled over the Iraq War was not a departure from other wars that America has fought. Just a short distance from where I grew up in Orleans County, on the Canadian side of the Niagara River, it was settled by loyalists who supported King George. With the exception of the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, open dissent has been at the core of our very being, and war has never been particularly a popular undertaking. American soldiers have never confused the United States with Sparta. The best leaders in battle become that way by being loyal and dutiful subordinates. We don't get a vote. We execute the lawful intent of our government. There is no political affiliation on our dog tags. We continue the warrior legacy of the United States without regard for adulation or unanimous approval either. The Iraqi veteran has maintained and in many circumstances far exceeded the highest traditions of military service to this great nation. Of the 1.5 million men and women who have served in Iraq, the valor they displayed was often subsumed by political rhetoric at home. But that in no way diminishes the accomplishment of our troops or the accomplishments of my generation at war. The award is recognition of that, and it should be seen as a validation of our efforts, not as a reward for the action of one individual in one house in Fallujah. When I think of Iraq, I think of Colin Fitz. Man shot by 3 separate weapon systems. Nobody would have raised an eyebrow if Fitzy retired. Instead, Colin Fitz returns to combat duty for 2 more years to shed more blood for this nation that he loves. When I think of Iraq, I think of Chris Oley, the young saw gunner whose job it is to open doors and put down reflexive fire to people who happen to be shooting back at him. And he was able to do that because behind him was Sergeant Warren Meeson, ready to pull him out of that doorway and undoubtedly save his life. I have Chuck Knapp, my team leader. Chuck Knapp saved our entire 3rd Platoon Alpha Company 2-2 when he stopped us from entering a building-contained IED that would have killed all of us. I think about Max Field, my saw gunner, who asked our Doc Abernathy to fix his injured foot in the prone position so he could continue to knock down targets under fire while he was getting fixed up. My guy John Ruiz, who shielded the body of his buddy from incoming fire without fear of risk to himself. When I think of the Iraq War, I think of Piotr Soholis, brave, strong, and steady. Our engineers, who devised and deployed remarkable weapon systems that saved countless lives. Our tankers, 2-7 Cavalry on the other side of Fallujah, that hardly gets any notice for what they did. There were indispensable Bradley crews who busted through walls. Omar Hardaway, James Cantrell, Chad Ellis, who without a functioning 25mm Bushmaster cannon, or TOW, or coax, and let's not discuss how that happened. He used his rifle to suppress the enemy. Corey Brown, the grizzly bear from Montana. Shane Gossard, humble, beautiful, kind. Brad Utasayer, Delalu. The Bradley teams and those crews are the reason why children have fathers today. And those teams shielded our dismounts from rocket fire that were meant to take our lives. Corey McFadden, John Bandy, Wilson, Gary Fry, Kane. They never took a step backwards under fire. Sergeant John Gregory is one of the toughest, most decent men I've ever served with. He had a tour from hell a year after we came home. Our drivers, Marcotte, Gonzo, Woodbury, Hunter, Perez, they got us there. They needed where we needed to go, and they did it with bravery and valor. Iraq makes me think of Victor Santos, a fiery, brave soldier who cut his combat teeth in Iraq and went on for more in a Ranger regiment. McDaniel and Swanson, young kids shouldering 240 Bravos on their shoulder, suppressing enemy fire from feet away. I had Stuckert, I had Metcalf, I had Flannery and Gross, and I had our door-crushing He-Man, Hugh Hall. That is my Iraq war. And it makes me proud to have told my dad no to dental school. I learned much more from living and fighting with these men than I ever could have from a lifetime of doing root canals. My unit's leaders died leading men from the front. When our company commander, Sean Sims, our company commander, he was killed in a house fight. Joey Seifert and my interpreter, Sammy, who just became a U.S. citizen a week ago. Yeah, he did clap for that. Joey Seifert and my interpreter Sammy were there to engage the enemy in efforts to save my company commander's life. Seifert engaged the enemy and threw his weapon at him, engaging him with the buttstock of his rifle after being shot in the shoulder. Travis Barretto and my first platoon fought their way to extract wounded and fallen ramrods under intense enemy fire. My Iraq war, I had Captain, now Colonel Doug Walter. I had First Sergeant, retired Command Sergeant Major Peter Smith. These were company leaders who put aside loss, put aside trauma, to direct young warriors during the most stressful times of our lives. Young lieutenants like Chris Walls, Jeff Emery, Lieutenant Menno. They learned how to lead and cover down when their peers had fallen. And finally, there's Scott Lawson, a true friend. We lost him in 2013. He entered the house with me that night in Fallujah. He gave me strength, he gave me confidence that allowed me to survive that night and many other nights since then. And I gotta mention this guy, Michael Ware, a combat journalist there to cover a story and becomes part of the story. You know, before I got to know him, before I got to see him in action, I would have told you he was 100% worthless and a nuisance. Now that number is 65%. I was wrong. Michael Ware is now the Ernie Pyle of his generation. His reporting is a testament to what we all did. And if it's not for men and women like Michael Ware, our story would have gone unremarked. Most of the men I just described got little or no recognition for their valor. In subsequent deployments, some would lose their lives years later. It is our duty to tell the story of our brave men and women who sacrificed so much for our fellow citizens. As I've tried to communicate to you today, this is not a celebration about me. I'm not mouthing a cliche. We have much more work to do when it comes to the Iraq War veteran. We are not there yet, and we're not even close when it comes to educating our fellow Americans about what was accomplished, what was sacrificed and what we all went through. Our survival as a nation depends on it. We honor our brothers and sisters in the United States Marine Corps. Anbar Province was their fight. Men like Brad Castle, Rafael Peralta, Christopher Appelsberger, Brian Shawtosh, Jeremiah Workman, Sergeant Kraft, they gave the enemy everything they could handle. The Navy and Air Force completed the remarkable display of American valor and might and fought shoulder to shoulder with the United States Army in Fallujah and all over Iraq. This entire military is one cohesive, dedicated force. And the threats to our nations, they don't sleep. They're watching our every move. Iran, Russia, China, North Korea, ISIS, Al-Qaeda. They may be watching this right now. Our military should not be mistaken for a cable news gabfest show. We don't care what you look like. We don't care who you voted for, who you worship, what you worship, who you love. It doesn't matter if your dad left you millions when he died or if you knew who your father was. We have been honed into a machine of lethal moving parts that you would be wise to avoid if you know what's good for you. We will not be intimidated. We will not back down. We've seen war. We don't want war. But if you want war with the United States of America, there's one thing I can promise you, so help me God. Someone else will raise your sons and daughters. We fight so our children never have to. We fight for one day when our children and our enemies' children can discuss their differences without fear or loathing. We fight so that anyone out there thinking about raising arms against our citizens or allies realize the futility of attrition against a disciplined, professional, and lethal force built to withstand anything you can dream of throwing at us. Americans want this kind of country. Americans want this kind of world. And we stand ready to defend it, to protect us. So help us God. May God bless this beautiful Army. May God bless our Marine Corps, our Navy, our Air Force, and Coast Guard. May God bless our allies. And we already know that God blessed America because he gave us the greatest fighting force this world has ever seen. 2-2 Infantry of the 1st Infantry Division. Thank you, Ramrods. Duty first. Dukes. Thank you very much.
That is one amazing speech. That has to go down as the #1 military speech of all mankind because that moved me in so many ways. Now, if that moved you as well, please contact me at sergeantdavematthews@gmail.com. That's SGTDavematthews@gmail.com. If you know of a good advocate or you got a story to tell, please email me. Or you can also like my Facebook page at Remember the Fallen, all one word. Like the page, get involved, and also Never Forgotten Memorial events, Never Forgotten Memorials, Facebook group page, and of course, go to the website and see what I've been doing for the last 4 years. And you might want to also get involved with donation or volunteering your time. Go to www.neverforgottenmemorials.org, and that's plural memorials. So neverforgottenmemorials.org. Let's hear a little bit more about this incredible Medal of Honor recipient, David Bellavia, speaks out on Fox and Friends.
During Operation Phantom Fury in 2004, Army Staff Sergeant David Bellavia saved an entire squad when he voluntarily entered and cleared an insurgent strong point.
And President Trump presented him with the Medal of Honor for his heroic actions, making him the first living Iraq war veteran to receive the honor.
Staff Sergeant
Bellavia, whose intrepid spirit and unwavering resolve defeats our enemies, protects our freedoms, and defends our great American flag. David, today we honor your extraordinary courage. We salute your selfless service, and we thank you for carrying on the legacy of American valor.
And joining us live right now, Staff Sergeant Bellavia joins us along with his close friend and Fox and Friends weekend co-host, Pete Hegseth. Good morning to both of you. Staff Sergeant, it is such an honor to have you with us today.
That's very kind of you. Thank you, sir.
Could you take us back to that day that we've been talking about in 2004?
It was Second Battle of Fallujah. This was a Marine Corps-led effort. The Army, 27 Cav, and 22 Infantry, which was my unit. We were brought in there basically to support. And it was, this enemy had 6 months to sit unmolested, and we went in there, and it was close quarter combat, and it's grisly stuff.
It was as bad as it gets.
Well, it was pretty rough, but thank God I had the men and women from 22 Infantry, and we did this shoulder to shoulder. We lost our company commander, Sean Sims, Ed Iwan, Stephen Falkenberg, J.C. Madison. These were important guys to our team. But our young people responded, our training. It's just a real privilege to serve this country at a time of war with a unit like the 1st Infantry.
So, Pete, you meet a lot of people who serve. I've read his book before I met him. I watched it on Book Notes at midnight on Saturday. We were talking about your story. What made him stand out? Well, this is my original copy of House to House that David signed for me in 2006. What stood out is the minute he left the military, which is when I met him, he continued to fight for the guys fighting. And when he came out with the Silver Star, every single one of us that read his book said this is a Medal of Honor story. Which is higher, which is what he was bestowed at the White House. So tell us what happened.
We walked into. We had a mission to walk in and find 6 to 8 bad guys in a group of about 10 houses. And we walked into one house, and these guys set up an ambush, belt-fed machine guns. I had a young, early 20-something-year-old kid, Chris Oley, opens the door and just, like the Battle of Antietam, through a door. And this young kid just puts down reflexive fire. And we talk about one person's actions, but there are 55 different decisions that other people make that allow you to make decisions. And I just happened to be the right place at the right time.
And when you found out that you were going to receive the Medal of Honor, what went through your mind?
It's unbelievable. I mean, you feel awkward, you feel uncomfortable, but my commander-in-chief allowed me to bring my soldiers on that stage, and that meant so much
to them. They were in the White House with you.
Not only were they in the White House, it meant everything to us, to myself, but my president brought our soldiers on the stage. That's never happened before in a Medal of Honor ceremony. It's about one person, and he allowed it to make it about the entire team.
Wow. You, like every soldier, he'll be humble about I was the right guy at the right time, but in this book and elsewhere, if you read the citation, you tell us what happened. Yeah, well, it was a series of choices. I mean, your guys were pinned down. You decided to go in, switch your weapon out for a squad automatic weapon, clear a room so that the men could go in, and then what's going through your head when you're stacked outside the building? The 5 bad guys are still inside the house, and you know they're going to live to fight another day.
Well, you're angry. There's a little bit of shame that you broke contact to begin with. We are American soldiers fighting against our cowboys terrorists. We're trying to break their back. We're trying to end the war. Every battle, we're trying to win the war in Iraq. That's what this is all about. And so, you want to get initiative and dominate the enemy. And that's what I thought I had an opportunity to do, and I just kept rolling until my luck ran out.
Until your luck ran out, but in the end, you realized the room, what was it, propane was in the room, so you could not use a firearm. So you had to kill the guy with your bare hands.
Well, there was an implement used, but, that's the thing. We're fighting for our lives, and, I had a guy, this happened a lot. I mean, we talk about one snapshot in Fallujah. There was a lot of close quarter battle. That's grisly and that's ghoulish, but at the same time, you see a whole lot of...
Can you take me back to that mindset when you're going through this and you're having to make some of these calculations?
That maybe if you have time to think about it, you probably don't do it, right? It's all you care. There's so much love on the battlefield. You love these men. You love what you're doing. You love this country, and there's no enemy that's ever going to stand against that.
This is the middle of the night. These are drugged-up terrorists. You happen to have a Time magazine reporter there. Now, there's literally audio there's 10, 20 minutes outside the house, it's quiet.
Right.
You're the only American inside a house full of drugged up terrorists that are suicidal and want to die for their cause. What's going on in that house during that time?
You know, there's a lot of confusion because I had a guy, Staff Sergeant Scott Lawson, was in the house with me, but you don't know, are you hearing footsteps upstairs? Is that an American soldier on the roof coming down? You don't want to shoot your own. Then you've got a journalist running around, this Australian lunatic that's
very aggressive.
You know, he's running from room to room with a camera. I mean, this is not what, it was very chaotic and crazy.
So I'm reading this book when it first came out. I watched you roll this out and tell your story. And not only you're a great communicator, but I said, this is almost like a novel in that you walk in before you join the military and your house is being robbed.
Yeah.
You remember, they don't expect you to be home. These guys look at you, your dad looks at you, and you freeze.
I totally froze.
You didn't move, so they end up getting away. You remember looking in your dad's eyes and seeing the disappointment that you didn't stop the home invasion. Later on, you join the military, and you go into the worst block on the planet, and you have the courage to not only go in there, but to take out everybody, save your buddies, and take a guy out with your hands.
Well,
you talk about redemption.
No,
you can't write a script like that.
No, that's the way the world works. It's a blessing, but yeah, I felt
It doesn't work like that. You chose to rise to the moment. You learned how to be a hero.
Well, you know, the thing is, when you're peer pressure can make you smoke cigarettes at 13. Peer pressure can also make you, clear a road of IEDs and take out a bunch of bad guys. It's who your peers are. And if you have great people around you, you will find that you were going to rise to any level because everyone is in this together. There's a million reasons why we're divided outside. In this military, it doesn't matter what you look like, who you worship, what you do. It's one team, and anyone that wants to step up against that team, you're in for a long, long day.
David, I got to know you afterwards. We were part of a group called Vets for Freedom, fighting in the war. Why is it that 10 years later, you're the first living recipient of the Medal of Honor from the Iraq War?
I don't know, but I got to tell you, I'm very proud to be a veteran of the Iraq War, as you are. There was we can never again make a bad war in a good war. And that's what the chip on the Iraq War veteran's shoulder is, that ours was the bad war. And I like to believe that there are many more of these coming to living recipients as well. But you think about, Rafael Peralta and Brad Castle and all these incredible stories. Iraq War veterans have nothing to be ashamed of. We did our job. We exceeded the finest traditions, and attention needs to be paid to what we did in Iraq.
And it kills me when leaders talk about diminish the war or say dumb war. I'm like, really? This Saddam Hussein was a menace for decades, was shooting at our plane for over 10 years. George Bush 41 was called weak for leaving it for Bill Clinton. 43 goes in. The invasion's brilliant. The occupation isn't. But the adjustment's phenomenal. They'll be writing about it in history books for generations. And then the surge is historic. And we sent a message to the Middle East, Americans will fight. And it wasn't only for a bad politician pulling troops out prematurely. That would have been the verdict.
Well, and what's your message to those politicians you just mentioned that diminish that service? What would you tell them?
I don't pretend to rewrite the narrative of the Iraq War. All I'm saying is that we didn't get a vote. We didn't get a choice. We followed the lawful intent of our government to serve our country. And don't put the policy over the valor of my generation. This generation serving today, all due respect to World War II, we are the greatest generation. We've been at war longer than any other generation of American. We're doing multiple. This guy has been to Gitmo, Afghanistan, and Iraq. That's the triple-double right there. And there are Americans that have given 6 years of their life at war.
And volunteered.
Volunteer professionals. So, you know what? Support the troops. Join the military, because your country needs you. We need to serve right now. America needs us, and our enemies aren't sleeping.
David mentioned
we
World War
honor
II.
you, sir.
Everyone grew up on Audie Murphy, the heroism of Audie Murphy. This is the Audie Murphy of our generation right here, David Bellavia.
And thank you so much we honor you. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you very much.
But the fight goes on for you? You're going to keep the word, keep out there?
We're going to try to get as many Americans to make a decision that we both made. Service to our country makes us better men, better women, better citizens, husbands, fathers. America is worth any sacrifice.
Right.
Thank you for that.
And they should make your book a movie. I know they talked about it. They got to make the book a movie.
Okay.
All right?
My agent now.
I'm telling you.
Maybe probably make a
Now it's time to take care of our sponsors. Without them, this show would not happen. So all you fit veterans in the audience, get down and give me 22 everyday push-ups for the veterans that will die of suicide.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans. 30% of Americans who are planning home improvements of $5,000 or more will pay for those renovations with a high-interest credit card. That may not be a great idea. A better idea may be to take cash out of your home with a Quicken Loans 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. The rate today on our 30-year fixed-rate mortgage is 4.125%. APR 4.22%. Call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
Rate subject to change. 8.88% fee to receive this discounted rate. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Hi, I'm Jay Farner, CEO of Quicken Loans, America's largest mortgage lender. Spring will be here soon, so if buying a new home is on your to-do list, right now is the time to call Quicken Loans. Learn about which mortgage options make sense for you and get a jump on your competition. With our exclusive Rate Shield approval, the low rate you lock today is protected for up to 90 days while you shop for your new home. With a Rate Shield approval, if rates go up, your low rate stays locked. But if rates go down, you get that new, even lower rate. Either way, you win. Talk to us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com to take advantage. Here's another great reason to work with us. For a record 9 years in a row, J.D. Power has ranked Quicken Loans highest in the nation in customer satisfaction for primary mortgage origination. Again, to lock in today's low mortgage interest rate and get the security of our exclusive Rate Shield approval, call us today at 800-QUICKEN or go to rocketmortgage.com.
For JD Power award information, visit jdpower.com. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year fixed-rate loans. Call for cost information and conditions. Equal housing lender. License in all 50 states. NMLS number 3030.
Hi, welcome to this Subway ad for the new Sesame Ginger Glazed Chicken Signature Wrap. How would you like it?
I'll take a...
Sports announcer at home?
Yeah, how'd you...
We just know.
My wife picks up the new signature wrap. It's got double the rotisserie-style chicken mixed with a sesame ginger glaze. She appears annoyed at me, but she shrugs it off. Those sweet and savory flavors are calling her name. She lifts the wrap and she takes the bite! Incredible! And now she's closing the door on my... Subway, make it what you want.
Limited time only at participating restaurants. Double meat based on average 6-inch sub.
I'm little teapot, short and stout.
Here is my handle and here is my spout.
No, that, like this. When I get all steamed up, then I shout, tip me over and pour me out.
This is WWE superstar Roman Reigns. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
Visit fatherhood.gov. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
KOKC,
Oklahoma City, a Tyler media station reaching over 1 million Oklahomans every week.
95.3 FM and 1520 AM.
New tactic, migrant roundup. I'm Barbara Cusack. After President Trump halted a military strike against Iran for downing an unmanned drone, the administration is looking at a new way to get Tehran's attention. Correspondent Jim Shudo reports a senior administration official told him the next steps involve sanctions.
The focus now, according to the senior administration official, is additional economic sanctions, not military action.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement is pressing forward to arrest and deport families with court-ordered removals in 10 cities beginning Sunday. Correspondent Abby Phillips says that's the word after President Trump's earlier tweet revealed an operation was imminent.
There is a planned DHS raid that is scheduled to begin on Sunday, but it's not going to be millions of illegal immigrants. It's going to be around 2,000 families who have what they call a final order for removal. Now, this operation has been weeks and months in the planning.
A judge decided to appoint a special prosecutor to investigate the decision by Cook County prosecutors to dismiss all charges against Jussie Smollett. The actor was accused of lying to the police by claiming that he was a victim of a racist and homophobic attack in downtown Chicago back in January. Wall Street drifted lower to close out the work week as correspondent Ann Cates reports.
The Dow Jones Industrial Average closed down 34 points, but gained almost 2.5% for the week. After hitting an all-time high Thursday, the S&P 500 retreated by 4 points and finished the week up more than 2%. The Nasdaq fell 20 points, and for the week advanced by 3%.
Amazon apparently is exploring the use of drones, not just to deliver packages, but also to provide surveillance as a service to its customers. That's according to a patent granted by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office. According to the patent, the surveillance function of the drone can be limited through geofencing, which is a technology used to draw a virtual boundary around the property under surveillance. I'm Barbara Cusack.
Well, it's getting 0 dark 30 for the show, and I'm just about ready to go into rack ops mode. But before I relax, never! One last promo. So go to Sergeant Dave Matthews at gmail.com. That's SGT DAVEMATTHEWS at gmail.com for suggestions for the show's content. Or if you know a good piece of gear, a veteran advocate, I will get them on the show. Email me again at sergeantdavematthews at gmail.com, or go to my Facebook page and like the page at Remember the Fallen, all one word. Copy Remember the Fallen, all one word on Facebook. You can also hit me on my Twitter handle at Heroic Memorials, that's plural. If you're not at the Twitter bird chirping, you can go to my website, www.neverforgottenmemorials.org, and peruse through it. You're going to see a lot of activity, and if you can donate your time or money, we appreciate it. So go ahead and mark your calendar every Thursday night on your phone at 8 p.m. Eastern Time at klrnradio.com. Select shows and tap whatever show is running, and that should be my show every Thursday night. That's in order to all the troops come home safe. All right, Fallout, Pop Smoke, out.